So one of the most common parts that you'll run into when you're starting to work with a client is the storyteller. And the storyteller is one that blends very happily. Will come in and tell you all about, life story, a family of origin, all the information it wants you to have. And there's a number of reasons for that. One is the expectation. Anyone who's ever seen a movie that has a therapist in it, that's what you're meant to do. You sit and you tell the therapist your story. Anyone that's worked in agencies, that's part of the intake form usually, and anyone that's been in any therapy before, that will be their expectation. I will tell you the story. It's a storyteller, a great part. And certainly for the first session, the first couple of sessions, as you're building the therapeutic alliance, you want the client to know that you are interested in them, you are interested in their story. If they're coming to you explicitly for IFS therapy and they know the model, or they have some sense of the model, you can cut to the chase and you don't need to necessarily spend those first couple of sessions building an alliance with the client's system in a very detailed way. It's always nice to get to know someone, of course. So storyteller first session, storyteller second session. Probably told the story before, many times maybe. So once you've got permission to be a parts detector, of course, you could say, I'm noticing there's a part of you that likes to tell the story, maybe a storyteller part. Are you aware of that? See what happens. They may say that's what they were meant to do, blah, 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 or want to be careful that they don't feel that they've got something wrong and that they're feeling shamed by you. So what you're doing is gently pointing out the storyteller, and I'll often normalize it. I'll often say something like, it's common. It's common for people to start therapy with an expectation that you're going to tell me your story, of course, right? And you've got an amazing storyteller part who can come forward and do that, right? So it's very welcome and it's very much appreciated. And what I'm noticing is your storyteller is referencing other parts in that story. And we have a way to be able to help those parts that it's referencing, that it's talking about. But instead of the storyteller talking about them, it would be about you engaging with them, which is slightly different. If the storyteller wants to keep telling the story, it's really, really important that you hear me, something like that, then you probably got a part in there that has an experience of not being heard. And the parts that have not been heard will often tell the story externally again and again and again to different people, because they want to be heard. And in the moment of being heard by the therapist, by a friend, whoever, there's some relief, because the part's experience is that it will not be heard, will not be taken seriously, or whatever. So that can often be a part that's driving the storyteller. So you can offer that as a possibility. If that lands well, that's great. If it doesn't land so well, you could say, you're welcome to keep telling the story. And it seems to me that the part of you that tells the story would really like to be heard. I'm very open to hearing it. And as your storyteller part's telling the story, perhaps you could let it know that you're hearing it as well. So you can spend the whole session, which feels exactly the same, except for you're asking the client's self to be present, co-present with the storyteller as it's talking. And it begins to invite the awareness that this is a part that they can witness. Doesn't have to do anything differently, but it begins to invite the understanding that we're working with self in this model, and that self is available. Often with the storyteller, if you're listening out for parts, you'll notice that the storyteller may move from one blended part to another, or it may be referencing blended parts in its story. So let me give you an example. If my storyteller wants to tell you about my dog that passed, my dog George, it might look something like this. He was a great dog. He was such a great dog. He was like a dog from a movie. He was so smart and so attentive, and he was really my only connection to consistency and to companionship. And I miss him so badly. But then I think, maybe it's time to get another one. Like, he's just a dog, right? And there are other dogs, so maybe I can get another one. And maybe that'll be fine. It wouldn't be him, but maybe it would be fine. I'm going to stop the example because I want you to notice at least 3 parts there, one after the other. Right? The part celebrating George's life, the part a part holding a lot of grief around his passing, and then another part wanting to talk about moving on and getting another dog. We're used to telling these stories and have parts kind of flow in and out as we're doing it. Of course, as an IFS therapist, you attend to that, you notice, and you can reflect back those different parts that the storyteller is presenting. And then you can ask. Very, very helpful to hear about those different parts. I noticed the one that's so sad, still holding a lot of energy. Would it be okay to focus in on the part that's still sad about George? So you're looking for the target part. Or you could say, you know, I notice a part that's really celebrating George's life. I notice a part that's really sad. I notice a part that's considering moving forward with another dog. Which of those parts feels like it has the most energy right now for the attention? There is a tendency to privilege the exile. Oh, there's a sad part, let's go there. And there may be more for sure that part needs to tell. But right now, what may be on the table is there's a puppy coming up in 2 weeks, and I'm not sure if I want that puppy or not. So there's a decision that has to be made that would involve a number of parts. So that would be the target part that would need some attention. If you offer it back to the client will know. Which of those parts feels like it has the most energy? Do you sense would most like the attention right now? If you go inside, I'll sometimes use the image of your kids putting their hands up in class. Is there a part that's got its hand up really, really high? That helps to discern the target part for the work. If you get it wrong, if you lead with, I think we need to work here, their system will self-correct. So you'll find that there's a whole bunch of blockers and parts not allowing you to access what you think is the target part. And importantly, when someone is starting out with a new IFS therapist, their system has parts that will want to test you, and can they trust you, and can you be consistent, and can you hold self-energy for some of the deeper work that inevitably needs to happen, the core exiles. So often there'll be a presentation of something that looks fairly light. And behind the scenes, the parts are saying, yeah, if I talk to you about getting a new dog, will you listen to me? Do you get it? Are you able to stay present to me? Are you going to try and direct me somewhere else? Do you have an agenda for me? Or can I be present in whatever way I need to be present to you? And that's going to be okay. And that testing makes absolute sense, given that most of us have experienced betrayals in our time. All right, that's it for this one.